pressure, and he is looking to make back-to-back top 8s this weekend, and he is playing Sneak and Show, a pretty stock list here. You've got your Emrakul's, you got your Grizzlebrands, you got your ways to cheat him in play, Brainstorm and Ponder to find the pieces, Force of Will and Spell Pierce to protect yourself. Pretty easy breezy, and looking to make top 8 again.
Yeah, this is going to be Will's third camera match on the day, counting his standard open top 4 elimination.
Yeah.
He's also 0-X, 0-2 so far, you know.
Oh no, take him off, take him off.
He's gotta spin it around. This is the time. You just saw him lose to Alex Fan's Rug deck, or in the process of losing. I believe we cut before the match actually finished.
Yeah.
So that was his only loss on the day. He has remained in contention throughout, and now he'll be playing against another Delver deck, but this one significantly less lightning bolts.
Yeah, less lightning bolts and more discard in Hymnothorax. So, you know, if you're really you'd prefer to be playing against lightning bolts, as we are going to see a Deathrite Shaman here from James, but he's playing against Bug Delver, Tarmogoyfs, Deathrite Shamans, Delver's Secret, a couple Tombstalkers there, 4 copies of Abrupt Decay, which is nice because it's you know, it's for Will it's nice obviously because there's no real targets here. For Hymnothorax, however, those are going to be a pain, and I think Will is hoping to dodge those more than any of the other cards here. So we're going to see a Lotus Petal here from Will. Are we moving in here? Oh boy. Look at that face.
Oh, he's got the face.
I'm coming after you.
This is what I do.
So, show and tell on turn 1.
Does he have one of those Dazes or Force of Wills?
And I kind of like, you know, you like this because
he's got a Force.
It's just like, you know, I don't want to get himmed. I don't want that to happen. Oh no. We're in. Oh goodness. Does he not have a blue card?
Did he not have a blue card? That's a. Whew.
One of these
doggies.
One of these cards is better than the other.
Definitely has a Force, so I imagine he just got caught right there.
Wow.
Bad spot to get caught in. One of the awkward things about the Bug Delver deck is its Forces are a little worse, especially with. Jeez. Yeah, he's done. Wow.
Will showing us. He said, "I'm not afraid of the camera. I'm going to throw an Emrakul. Take that, camera."
I guess we'll talk about sideboards. You want to move on?
Jeez.
You want to move on? I'm ready to move on.
Ooh, Legacy is so good.
Interestingly, James does not have any Thought Seizes in his main deck, and he doesn't appear to have any similar effects in his sideboard either. So while he does have the full amount of hymns, he's actually a little light on discard compared to other builds, even though he has the more powerful spell, Hymnothorax. But beyond that, not a lot of action, especially for this matchup. Pithing Needle, I mean, he might bring that in assuming sneak attacks. He doesn't actually know it. We know it, but I would generally assume you see the Lotus Petals, you kind of think sneak attack, right? Yeah. I don't think the other versions tend to run Lotus Petals. So he's got Pithing Needle, a blue Elemental Blast, and Crows Grip maybe. That's about it. Yeah, so not a ton of help. No. As far as Will is concerned, he's in an interesting situation here, right? Where his opponent played a Deathrite Shaman and a Bayou, and then they died. So there's a range of decks they can be on. I think easiest one to put him on is Bug. The thing about Bug, of course, is that there are a lot of very different builds of Bug. You've got a Charlotte's Agent Bug with Ancestral Visions, you've got discard-heavy versions. The other thing that this could lead to is it could be a Jund deck, which is also going to be difficult as well because, again, the Jund decks kind of do vary. You know, you saw those do well with Pat Cox and Josh Ravitz at Grand Prix Denver. So Will saw actual 2 cards in Deathrite Shaman Bayou, and so you can put your opponent on a range of decks here. The difficult part is figuring out which one. Either way, if it is Jund or Bug, there are 4 copies of Leyline Sanctity here, and obviously we have perfect information, Glenn. We know that there are no Thought Seizes here from James. I think Thought Seize or Inquisition or something like that is a card that Will would be expecting, and at the very least, probably some sort of discard, him, what have you. So I think the Leylines are probably going to come in. Red Elemental Blast, potentially to fight Force of Wills, but again, if he thinks his opponent's on Bug, those decks don't have a ton of counter spells, so maybe you're not going to want to bring those in. Defense Grid, Echoing Truth, Blood Moon, Karakas. Blood Moon's a card that he could bring in as well. He has 2 of those. Ooh la la.
And he's not afraid to cast his 3 mana spells on turn 1.
Clearly.
So we could see a turn 1 Blood Moon here potentially on the draw, even turn 2 with those double lands. So I think Leyline is kind of safe to bring in here. If you're putting your opponent on a range of decks, what the Deathrite Shaman decks do, it's probably going to be a discard deck. You know, do you board in all 4? Do you board in a handful of them? That's the question.
Yeah, I think that you probably have to just bring him in, assuming that he's going to have access to a lot of disruption.
Okay.
And obviously, we have the benefit of knowing he doesn't have those. He's made room for stuff like Tombstalkers, extra hymns and dismembers and Sylvans, the full amount of days. It's an awkward spot for Will as well. He has defense grids, which are a reasonable line of defense against counterspells, obviously, but when you know your opponent has Abrupt Decay in their deck,
Yeah.
You don't know what they're doing with them.
Yep.
You can assume they're siding them out. I think that's a generally safe assumption, but when you're wrong, it's very costly.
That's true. That's very, very true. Again, I would assume that James is going to bring him out as well, but again, you just never know. You know, we played a turn. The game was an actual turn. So, you know, both players have to kind of, you know, if they don't know what each other are playing or, you know each other very well, you know, trying to figure out information, especially from Will's side, is going to be pretty difficult. You know, don't know if he's playing Jund or if he has Forcible in his deck, because Show and Tell just resolved, and that was it.
That's true. He could put him on Jund. That's very reasonable. Especially with the Denver victory, having thrust that deck into the limelight, you know, 2 weeks ago, you say, hey, he might be playing Jund. It's like, come on. He's not playing Jund.
Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, I think it's easier, you know, to put him on Bug than Jund, just because Bug is a more popular deck. But again, the Bug builds are so different. We don't see Delver in most of the builds that are doing well. And you've got 4 copies of Delver, you've got 4 copies of Daze here, and 4 copies of Forcible starting, where you've been recently finding either 3 forces or forces in the board. So.
Yeah, I think the Bayou even might be a little awkwardly telling. Like, he did Show and Tell that Verdant Catacombs in, and you might assume a Bug player goes and gets the Underground Sea on turn 1, even if they're playing a Deathrite Shaman, you know? Especially because that deck has stuff like Daze. So, you know, if they Bayou Deathrite Shaman, I think I am significantly more likely to think Jund, especially when they show me the fetch line that could have given them blue.
Yeah. That's the part. It's going to be a little bit of a guessing game here for Will. Then again, you know, you don't have to guess too much if you can just cast Show and Tell on turn 1 and put an Emrakul into play. So you can just, you know, ignore your opponent. You can just ignore your opponent and do the raw power thing. But we're going to see Underground Sea and Deathrite Shaman, so now it's a pretty clear giveaway.
Yep. I'm curious what Will might be thinking now. It's like, all right, well, now I know what I'm up against, but did I sideboard correctly?
Volcanic Island here. This is a deck that does have 4 copies of Wasteland. James's Bug Delver deck does, so you can put the pressure on and start Wastelanding the opponent as well. And you are going to see a Wasteland here. You're going to take care of that right away. Deathrite Shaman can add some manas. It's going to do that. Is that a him? Oh, that looks like a him to me.
That looks him-like. Oh, they're shuffling up the hand. There are very few spells that it's less just disheartening to have cast against you than a Hymn to Torok. Like, it's not even, like, that bad. Obviously, it's a good card, but, like, it just feels bad. You're bummed.
Yeah. So there's a 1. And they're going to clear everything up with the spotter there to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah, you appear to be debating what a 1 means.
Yeah. Maybe
perhaps our previous method of randomization was inappropriate?
Yeah, maybe they want them to reshuffle all that jazz. Yeah, the spotter figuring everything out, so we'll get it cleared up for you guys in just a moment.
The spotter, one of our finer judges in the field, Gavin Dugan.
Yep, had judge yesterday.
Yep.
Making sure everything is kosher. Let's try that again. Prolong this hymn because it's so much fun for Will. So much fun to be hymned.
All right, we got that middle one.
1, 2, 3. All right, what do we got? Brainstorm and a fetch land. The old combo. Get them both right out. Misty Rainforest and a Brainstorm go bye-bye.
That was a tough turn for Will. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, not so good, as you are going to see a Misty Rainforest here now. Maybe he should have led with a fetch land instead of the Volcanic.
Yeah, he had a pair of them, actually. That makes it a little interesting.
We're going to see another Underground here. And we're going to see a Python Needle. And he's going to have to sack that now. I hope.
You think?
Oh, no.
Oh, we need to find out what that card named.
Yes, we do.
He named Sneak Attack.
Okay.
Maybe this was a case where James, cast the Python Needle and immediately says Sneak Attack or something to that effect. So Will's like, all right, I'll just leave my land here.
That's fine. Okay. Taking a look at Will's deck list really quickly, as far as things he can do to get that Python Needle off of the board for his Sneak Attack, he has 2 copies of Echoing Truth and a sideboard.
Assuming he brought them in.
Yeah, and that's a guessing game if he brought him in at all.
I imagine he probably didn't. There are a lot of cards he could have brought in, and while Echoing Truth is like the most widely playable of his sideboard cards, like it's never going to be dead, it's just going to be a boomerang, which is not great, but not ever dead. Yeah. Everybody's got permanents. Yeah. Doesn't seem that likely to me. Of course, he may not even have a Sneak Attack, so who's to say it matters at all?
Oh, there's an Underground. Or excuse me,
a Volcanic.
A Volcanic. My apologies.
That's like the exact opposite of Underground.
I know.
That's a protrusion.
I muffed that one, okay? I muffed it. I would have been better off calling it a steam vent.
Oh, we've all been there.
a draw. James doesn't have a lot going on. You know, Deathrite Shaman's doing a little bit of work here, but he needs a clock, because the more time you give this Neek and Show deck, it can find its way, you know, to work into a hand where it can cast its namesake card with a little bit of protection, and then there's nothing you can do to get out of it.
When you're not capitalizing on a wasteland, it's always a little rough, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the biggest advantage to wasteland is just making your opponent stumble. Like, hit him, and then seize the tempo from there.
Yeah, and that was such a good start for him, and it just kind of sucks for him that he's not being able to take advantage of it, because you are going to see Wasteland here. It's going to target
Ancient.
the Ancient Tomb.
Okay.
So it's keeping his mana in check pretty well, but again, no actual action.
He doesn't even have spells, wow, to remove the Deathrite Shaman. It's just, he's just sitting there hoping Will plays one.
Yeah, just lands.
No, it's like, no, this is all I'm doing. I'm just play a land every turn. Will obviously has very little incentive to feed the Deathrite Shaman, considering James isn't doing anything else.
Yeah.
Will can sculpt the perfect hand. He has inevitability in that fashion. Oh,
Is it time to see a Preordain or okay, Brainstorm?
Brainstorm.
I was wondering one of these players was
It's a
going to cast a
strong one.
Brainstorm.
he's got 2 fetches. Obviously can crack one to shuffle things up.
Figure out how he wants to organize things here. He's going to begin the sculpting here, be able to hide something away with those fetch lands, and James is going to need to draw a Brainstorm of his own here really soon, just to find something to do. The worst part is he needs to brainstorm or ponder into, you know, the combination of, you know, permission plus a threat, assuming that he doesn't have much permission in his hand right now.
Yeah.
You see he's going to sack Stalling Karn, kind of asking, is this okay? You got those stifles in your deck, my man?
Crazier things have happened.
Oh, we've seen some stifles today.
Oh, we.
We're going to see him search out a basic. Yeah, he's going to search out an island here. He still can be wastelanded, but he wants to make sure that he's going to have some lands left over.
And there are only 2 wastelands even left in James's deck, so unless he plays nothing but basics for the rest of the game, this feels mostly frivolous.
Yeah.
And considering his deck list only has 3 basic lands in it in the first place. Oh,
Got an island. Make
man,
it
look
one
at
to
me
go.
go.
One to go. Uh-oh, I feel like we're making a move. Oh, defense
grid.
Okay.
So he clearly did not go for the Jundry.
No, not at all.
He knew what was up.
You know, there's also the fact when you are in a live Magic tournament, maybe he sat next to James a couple of
It's
rounds.
very possible.
And birded a few of his games while he was, you know, shuffling or sideboarding or something.
Maybe
knows that
he
he's
and James
playing
are best friends. Maybe he's the godfather of James's job.
Yeah, you know, that could be a thing.
You have no idea.
That definitely could be a thing there.
I can't rule it out. If you're going to counter anything, you might want to counter this one. Then again, James not really doing anything, so if he needs to just hold up a ton of counter mana every turn, yeah, he can do that.
He's got some mana. He's definitely got some mana.
He's down.
Defense grid's going to resolve. You're going to see Brainstorm get removed from Deathrite Shaman. Going to knock Will down to 13. Now the big question is, does Will have, you know, the combo of Show and Tell plus a big Boom Boom? As we do see him, the card drawn here for James. Misty Rainforest is going to play his land.
I think he's going to cast the Hymn to Torah.
Get him a raise. Who do I have to call? Hypnotorak. Who's he going to target with that?
I think Will, but I wouldn't want to speak out of turn. We've only got 3 cards? Alright, so this is a good hymn regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
It actually just can't hit a bad card.
Yep. Here we go. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5. Whoop. Emrakul and a Spell Pierce.
Alright, well, are we going to do anything in response to that trigger? We've got a window. And just get in those 2 points, man. Why not, right?
He can remove that with Deathrite Shaman.
He can remove the Emrakul. I think he'd rather remove the Spell Pierce to the shock, even though, like, it, you know, gives... There's a little bit of threat density argument there, but I don't know. 2 damage is a lot of damage.
Yeah, the 2 points is not irrelevant. I agree with you. I think he's worried about probably the wrong card here, right? Like, yeah, he's fetching to get a green source, is what he's doing.
So he's going for the Emrakul.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I don't really. I mean, I haven't done the math on it. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
I don't know what the 1 in 7 versus 1 in 8 actually is, but it feels like 2 damage is gonna matter a lot more often than that will. At the end of the day, though, it's definitely a thin value decision. You know, like unlikely to have much impact. Figuring out what's right is mostly for the sake of just knowing what's right.
Yeah. We are going to see Will shuffle his graveyard back, and Emrakul Trigger is still going to resolve, even though Emrakul is no longer there. A few times you actually see Emrakul bite the dust in the graveyard. I don't think I've seen that yet since Deathrite Shaman's been out, so seeing something new every day.
Oh, yeah.
Makes you wonder what that last card is in Will's hand. Maybe it was a show and tell and he was feeling good. He was setting up the old show and tell, put Emrakul into play, spell pierce your counter spell, and there's no way you can pay for it. Finish you off.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not a bad turn.
I've heard of worse ones.
But again, if that is a show and tell, he's on 7 redraws. He does have 3 Emrakuls and 4 Gristlebrand's left. So.
And if it's an Emrakul or a Gristlebrand, then he's on 4 redraws for a show and tell.
And if it's sneak attack, gross.
Sneak attack sucks to be you, man.
Yeah.
That's tough. Oh, that's a cantrip.
That's a beat me to it. 1 and 2 and 3. I think you're going to know right away if he's going to want to keep this or not, too.
We immediately put him face down in the palm of our hand. That kind of indicates a no, I think.
Yeah.
Or a snap yes. One of the
That's
two.
a snap yes.
Okay. Show me the money. Do it. Maybe it was just another ponder? I guess that's theoretically better. I'm not even sure if that is better because of the Deathrite Shaman deal. It's like each one costs 2 life, basically. Yeah. But getting a Volcanic now.
He could also be doing this right now, just maybe like, well, I guess Stifle isn't even. Yeah, Stifle doesn't matter. He can't play that, so
yeah,
a lot of stuff doesn't matter
I feel
here.
Like it's just a brainstorm or a ponder.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
Oh,
I think you're wrong now. Give me a raise. Give me a raise.
That's a show and tell. Wow, we did it.
Good lord. Good lord.
Good lord. That's dirty.
Yeah. Your turn. Yeah. Himmed him with cheese.
So from this situation, James has maybe a Maelstrom Pulse, and that's it.
That was gross.
Ice cold.
He himmed him with when he had 3 cards left. Hits Emrakul, hits Spell Pierce, doesn't hit the show and tell, and then Ponder just makes it all come together.
Can't beat the top of the deck with a Hymnatora.
You can't.
It's always been the case. You just can't do it.
And I think it's setting in here for James, and he's passing the turn back, and Gristlebrand is about to go to work.
Casual heart? No, he can't even. Wow, this is just.
Does he have any outs?
No, he has literally a 1 Maelstrom Pulse if he boarded it in. I assume he probably did.
And we're gonna see Will, deal 7, draw 7, 6 and 7. And this is the thing that's difficult for these, Bug Delver, Rug Delver type decks. Is the goal for them is to never let Gristlebrand get into play.
Yep.
Or Emrakul, of course.
Yeah,
and the
they
goal,
don't really have a plan B.
Yeah, and the goal, yes, for Will and the Sneak and Show deck is get one of those things in play. And if he ever gets it into play, mission accomplished. Game over.
Very true.
As we saw in the first game, and we are currently seeing in this one. There's just, as you said, there's no plan B. Once it actually happens, one of the big dummies gets into play, there's nothing they can do.
It's one of the reasons I'm not really a fan of these tempo decks, just because I feel like I'm so much at the mercy of shutting my opponent down. I'd much rather just be able to beat what they're doing in a lot of circumstances. Like, that's one of the main perks of the Sneak and Show deck. It just does something really powerful that incidentally beats a lot of strategies without having to try.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're playing a tempo deck, you always have to try.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And it's also frighteningly consistent at doing it, too.
Yes.
Again, he was him down to... Think of how this game went. Will went turn 1 Volcanic Island, and James started with a Deathrite Shaman. Will went turn 1 Volcanic Island, James went Wasteland you, him you. It's like, all right, that's like best possible start. And then got himmed when he had 3 cards left in his hand, left with just show and tell, and the next turn, and then he just untapped, draws, and Gristlebrand's in play. Your turn. Just ridiculously consistent.
It's a tough game.
Well, no one said it'd be easy. That's for sure. And now, you know, Will is just attacking Gristlebrand. I mean, we've seen Gristlebrand before, right? Once this thing gets going, there's nothing you can do.
Oh yeah. As demons go, he's a good one.
Yeah. this is the card that people thought should be banned in Legacy, and while that's turned out it probably shouldn't be the case. Again, when it is in play for at least more than 1 turn, it reminds me of Jace a lot. It's just like, if you can't get this off the board in like a turn or 2, it's just over. You know, it's not immediately over like a combo deck, but it's basically over.
It's over in the you're still playing Magic, but you're not really playing Magic.
Yeah, you're untapping and drawing.
Yeah. Well, debating whether he wants to draw another 7, it seems. Decides no.
Yeah, it's just like, go. Yeah.
Falls to 15 from the Deathrite Shaman.
I'm feeling pretty safe behind my my Gristlebrand here. You see James got discard sneak attack. That's pretty easy to do here. James gonna take a draw step. Draws a polluted Delta. Just drawing a lot of lands this game. You know, it never really fell into those brainstorms or anything. And again, I think the hands that he kept were completely reasonable. You know, you can't really be upset about that. But you know, just he had Deathrite Shaman Wasteland, a good hand against Will's deck, and he just didn't draw anything. And you see Will Craddock wins 2-0 over James Sung in his Bug Delver deck.
One of the things that really stings about that is that James is playing Bug Delver, which is the threat heavier version of the Bug decks, you know? He's got 4 Delvers, he's got 4 Tarmogoyf, Deathrite Shaman, very realistic clock, and he's even got Tombstalkers tagging along for the ride.
And he has him instead of Lightning Bolt, which is the card you'd rather have here.
Sure.
You know, it doesn't have Stifles like, you know, the Rug Delver decks do, but again, Stifle's not incredibly important in this particular matchup. It's fine, but you'd rather have discard, and he actually has that, and he has Dazes and Forces, and Gristlebrand's are coming into play.
Not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough.
Man, game 1 was still just so insane. He has the Force of Will, but not the blue card. Man, that's the worst
One thing I love with the Sneak Attack deck too is, or the Sneak and Show deck, excuse me, is when you know you look at your opening hand, whatever, and they're just like, all right, like I have Petal, Island, like Show and Tell Guy, and it's like, am I supposed to do this on turn 1? Because like, if I'm wrong, I'd probably just like lose, or you know, it's like a disaster. And Will's just like, yep, going for it. Land, Petal, Show and Tell. Do you have anything? And she's like, no. I'm like, all right, you're dead.